Okay, so here we are on day 2 or step 2 of the hero's journey. Now, if you recall, step 1 was about the ordinary world, which is basically where you are in life now. It's your current circumstances. So step 2, the call to adventure, is about you realizing you hearing that little whisper and there's more to life. And you need to step out, you need to change, you need to embrace what's ahead of you, the adventure. So if that's something that interests you, watch this video in its entirety. I'm Sherry from SherryLouMiller.com, and this is step 2 of a 12-part series of the hero's journey. Now, the hero's journey is just a story framework that is a lot of times used in filmmaking and books, where the hero starts in the ordinary world, and through the next, 10 steps, they go through this transformational journey, and then they get to step 12, where they come back to their ordinary world, a new, improved, transformed person. So we're taking that and applying it to our lives. So go back and watch this video about the ordinary world and how it actually you can apply this framework to your world. But today we're going to talk about the call to adventure. And I'm pretty much going to apply it to my life. So like I said, the second step is recognizing that you want more. It's about embracing the call and embracing change and stepping into what it is that you need to do to move your life forward, to expand, to grow. So now I guess you have to decide, are you going to accept that invitation to change? Because with change, there comes doubt, uncertainty, fear. All of these negative emotions are going to come when you decide to step outside your comfort zone. But in order to move to that next level in your life, you got to do what you got to do. So we're going to apply this to my life in this current season. Now, I've gone through various seasons, and I've gone through all 12 steps if I break it down. But in this current season, I don't know what step I'm on, but I haven't made it to step 12, return to the elixir. So my call to adventure, I would say, is when I realized that what I was doing just wasn't serving me. So I was in my ordinary world where I had worked in financial services for 30 plus years. I had worked for my last employer for 13 years, and I decided to leave and start my own business. Now, first, it was gravy. Business was going well, as you've heard in other stories, but then it wasn't, and I needed income flowing. So I kind of stepped back into a previous ordinary world. I went back to what I knew, what I was comfortable in. I took a contract position back with my previous employer, back into the financial services industry, things that I could just do in my sleep. I also started putting energy back into my 2 Etsy stores, one the gift shop, which had over 4,000 sales, so there was a track record there, the testimony, reviews there. It still had some sales coming in, as well as my digital shop, which wasn't as profitable because they're low ticket items in that store. It was meant to use the low ticket items to bring in the traffic for the higher ticket items to upsell. So I still have reviews there, quite a few products. I got sales, just, not enough revenue because they're low ticket items. But I stayed in the comfortable. I stayed what I knew was working. And so my logic was, well, just, this is already there, just build it out. Instead of putting the energy into my new business, to move past Etsy, to move past doing print on demand, because that was never my end game. But I got stuck in the loop because of finances, where this can bring in income. There's already a market there, where if you go over here and start something brand new, you got to start brand new. So, I'm on this hamster wheel basically. But in the meantime, after the contract was over, because that was supporting me, Now that that income was gone, I'm just back to the Etsy, and it's not supporting me financially. So you come back to the little whisper, like, what are you going to do? You got more years behind you than you do in front of you. Like, how long are you going to stay here in this spot, even though it's not what you want to do, but you think it's easier? How long will you stay here instead of just taking the step? Like, these are the internal conversations I'm having with myself. So as you know from the previous video, I start to journal. As you start to get these thoughts out of your head and you're reading them, you realize, like, yeah, I'm not moving, and I'm staying stuck in this ordinary world, which really isn't even serving me anymore. So, I got the call. It's like, well, what are you going to do? So I'm like, well, I'm a step on faith. So then, I pivot. Even though I don't have the contract anymore, but I do still have the other Etsy shops. But I'm like, no, it's time to stop putting all this time and energy into something that's known and comfortable, but it isn't serving me. It's not even supporting me financially anymore. And just do what you need to do to follow your passion, to follow your heart, to step into your dream. Like, it's time to do that. It's time to what? Oh yeah, accept the invitation for my call to adventure. It's time to go for it. Now, initially when I did, I was still kind of working around budgeting, money mindset, money stories, because that's always been my sweet spot, I guess I would say. But it wasn't lighting me up. I've never taken a course, anything related to all of that is just self-taught by my life journey. And I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to step, you got to step into something that lights you up. And that didn't. So I promised myself that I would rely on my intuition and gut, because that used to be my compass, but I had kind of gotten away from it. So I was like, just let this evolve, let it play out. So like I said, I'm back walking, that's my meditation, and things come to me. So throughout this process, my friends who may watch this, they'll know I had this set of products. I was going to do self-discovery, this whole series of self-discovery journals. And then I was like, well, okay, I'm going to put a financial part into that. And then I'm going to do this. And then one day I was like, this isn't it. Like, you know how you have that little voice inside of you, when you hit it, when you hit the nail on the head. And I was like, this isn't it. So I started with the first journal, which I mentioned is Align and Awaken. I'll put a link in the description. If you're interested, check it out, because it just is 12 weeks with various guided prompts. But there was supposed to be 3 more in the series. But after I did the first one, I was like, okay, well, this kind of covers a lot in the self-discovery. It addresses your values. It gets you to be true to yourself, which is the end game. And the other ones, maybe they would have worked, maybe they wouldn't, maybe I'll come back to it, maybe I won't. I don't know. I got choices. So as it evolved, I was like, well, okay, why can't I kind of blend the two, the financial with the self-discovery? Because in my life, when my finances aren't right, they kind of roll over into other areas of my life, because, your finances impact a lot of things. And sometimes if they're just really out of track, you get off kilter, you're depressed, a lot of negative things come from when your money isn't right. So I'm like, okay, but life shouldn't be all about money, because time, which, like I said, more behind me than in front of me, is finite. And I value my time a lot. Money is not. So I was like, okay, money is just energy. You got to attach positive energy to it. Abundance, get away from scarcity, the lack, and all of that, because it's energy. And it takes on the meaning that we give to it. And so because I was caught on this hamster wheel as before, I was putting a lot of negative energy attached to money. So if you're doing that, you're kind of repelling it, you're blocking it. So it's like, okay, start jotting those ideas down. So it just keeps evolving. Where I end up is wealth beyond money, which is actually already trademarked, so I can't use that. But the concept, because wealth is a mindset. Rich to me, is about materialistic and all about the paper. So I want to live a wealthy life, which starts with self-discovery, because you got to know yourself, you got to know your values. So that was a good first product. But then I have these ladders that lead up to when you want to lead a life that's wealthy. So I had to allow, even though I stepped into my call, I accepted the invitation, it was still evolving. There was still some concern, there was still some doubt, there was still some negative emotions around my decision to step. But that's a part of change. But you still have to embrace it and know that in the end, everything will work out. So step 2, the call to adventure, is about you taking the chance, listening to the whisper, and stepping outside of what you've been doing in your comfort zone and taking a chance on something new. Because in this new phase is where you will transform, is where you will grow. Because if you're going to stay, I think life's pretty boring at the status quo. I stayed there way too long. So even though things I haven't advanced through all 12 steps in this season of my life, I am moving through them. I have more joy and happiness, and I feel like I'm attracting things into my life because I let go of the fear. So yeah, with change, there's going to be some fear, but it shouldn't be crippling. It shouldn't stop you. It shouldn't hold you captive. You got to embrace it and use it as a motivator. So this is step 2. And I guess the question is, are you going to accept the invitation? Now here are your prompts, your homework for step 2. So again, for the homework, I'm going to read. Prompt 1. Reflect on your current situation. What about it is pushing you to change? Prompt 2. What is the thing you're feeling called to do, but haven't taken action yet? Prompt 3. What would it feel like to stop waiting for that perfect moment that will never arrive and just start today? To just step on faith. Prompt 4. What's a fear or excuse you've been holding on to? How can you reframe it into a strength or an opportunity? Something that will move you forward. If someone you cared about asked you for advice on following their dreams, what would you tell them? Because you know we always have advice for other people that we may not take for ourselves. How can you apply that advice to your own life? So yes, I've lost daylight. So we're going to wrap up day 2. But comment below if you're going to accept the invitation for your call to adventure. If you're going to step out of your ordinary world and embrace change and move on to that next chapter. It's time to explore possibilities. Don't forget, if you found value, give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell, because we have 10 more steps in this journey. And I'll see you in the next video.